The stadium roared, a tidal wave of cheers crashing over Mia as she gripped her beer, eyes locked on the field. Her heart wasn't in the game, though her pulse raced for the woman beside her, whose laugh cut through the noise like a melody. In that moment, with 50,000 strangers screaming, Mia felt the world shrink to the warmth of Lena's shoulder brushing hers. It was a crisp October evening in Chicago, the kind where the air bit just enough to make you feel alive. Mia, 25, had never been one for football, but when Lena, her coworker and secret crush, invited her to the Bears game, she'd said yes before her brain could catch up. Lena, 26, was everything Mia wasn't: bold, unapologetic, with a smile that could unravel anyone. Her short black hair caught the stadium lights, and her green eyes sparkled with mischief as she leaned closer, shouting over the crowd, "You're not even watching, are you?" Mia blushed, caught. "I'm watching. Sort of." She fumbled, her hazel eyes darting to Lena's lips before snapping back to the field. Lena's laugh was low, teasing, and it sent a shiver down Mia's spine that had nothing to do with the autumn chill. They'd met 3 months ago at the graphic design firm where they both worked, a sleek office in the Loop filled with glass walls and creative egos. Mia was the quiet one, sketching logos in her corner, her auburn hair always falling into her face. Lena was the wildfire, pitching bold campaigns and charming clients with a wink. Their desks were across from each other, and Mia had spent weeks stealing glances, her heart stuttering every time Lena caught her eye and grinned. Tonight was different. It wasn't just stolen glances or awkward small talk over coffee runs. Lena had insisted on this outing, calling it team bonding, though their other colleagues had conveniently bailed. Now, surrounded by a sea of navy and orange jerseys, Mia felt like she was drowning in possibility. Lena's knee pressed against hers in the crowded stands, and when the crowd surged after a touchdown, Lena's hand brushed Mia's thigh. It lingered, just for a second, but it was enough to set Mia's nerves alight. "You okay?" Lena asked, her voice softer now, her gaze searching Mia's face. The stadium's chaos faded, and Mia could only nod, her throat tight. Lena's hand slid lower, resting on Mia's knee, a deliberate move masked by the game's frenzy. Mia's breath hitched, her mind screaming, "This is happening." The rest of the first half passed in a blur. Mia barely registered the score, her world narrowing to the heat of Lena's touch. When halftime hit, Lena grabbed her hand, pulling her through the crowd to the concourse. "Let's get some air," she said, her tone casual but her grip firm. Mia followed, heart pounding, as they slipped past vendors and drunk fans, finding a quiet corner near the stadium's edge. The Chicago skyline glittered beyond the railing, a mosaic of lights against the dusk. Lena leaned against the wall, her leather jacket creaking, and fixed Mia with a look that felt like a challenge. "You're different tonight," she said, her voice low. "What's going on in that head of yours?" Mia's mouth went dry. She'd spent her life playing it safe job, safe apartment, safe heart. Growing up in a small Illinois town, she'd learned to hide her feelings, especially the ones that didn't fit her family's expectations. She'd dated men, tried to feel what she was supposed to, but it was always hollow. Then Lena walked into her life, all confidence and chaos, and suddenly Mia's carefully built walls were crumbling. "I don't know," Mia lied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's just a lot." Lena stepped closer, her boots scuffing the concrete. "Bullshit," she said, but her tone was gentle, almost tender. "You've been looking at me like you're scared I'll disappear. Talk to me, Mia." The vulnerability in Lena's voice caught Mia off guard. She'd always seen Lena as untouchable, a force of nature who didn't need anyone. But now, with the city humming around them, Lena's green eyes held a flicker of uncertainty, a crack in her armor. Mia's heart thundered. She could walk away, keep her secrets locked tight. Or she could leap. "I'm scared," Mia admitted, her voice trembling. "Of this. Of you. Of what I feel when I'm around you." Lena's lips parted, and for a moment, she looked as stunned as Mia felt. Then she smiled, slow and warm, and closed the distance between them. "Good," she murmured, her breath warm against Mia's cheek. "Because I've been terrified of you since the day we met." The world tilted. Lena's hand found Mia's, their fingers intertwining, and Mia felt like she was falling and flying all at once. The stadium's roar echoed faintly, but here in this stolen moment it was just them. Lena leaned in, her lips brushing Mia's ear as she whispered, "Let's get out of here." They didn't go back to the game. Lena led Mia through the city, their hands still clasped, weaving through streets alive with honking cabs and laughing strangers. They ended up at a small diner in Wicker Park, the kind with sticky tables and neon signs. Over greasy fries and milkshakes, Lena talked about her life growing up in Seattle, coming out at 16, the fights with her parents that pushed her to carve her own path. Mia listened, her heart aching with every word, realizing how much Lena had fought to be herself. "I've never done this," Mia confessed, staring at her half-eaten fries. "Felt like this. I didn't even know I could until you." Lena reached across the table, her fingers grazing Mia's wrist. "You don't have to have it all figured out," she said. "Just don't run from it, okay?" Mia nodded, her chest tight with emotion. For the first time, she didn't want to run. The weeks after the game were a whirlwind of stolen moments. Mia and Lena fell into a rhythm lunch break spent laughing in the office kitchen, late-night texts that stretched past midnight, and quiet walks along Lake Michigan where their shoulders brushed just enough to spark electricity. Chicago's winter was creeping in, blanketing the city in frost, but Mia felt warmer than she ever had. Lena was a revelation. She'd show up at Mia's desk with coffee, her grin wicked as she whispered, "Made it just how you like it, princess." Mia would roll her eyes, cheeks burning, but she lived for those moments. Lena's boldness pulled Mia out of her shell, and for the first time, Mia started to believe she could be more than the cautious girl she'd always been. But not everyone was thrilled. At work, their growing closeness didn't go unnoticed. Their boss, Mark, a man with a permanent scowl and a penchant for traditional values, started watching them too closely. One afternoon he called Mia into his office, his tone clipped. "You and Lena seem friendly," he said, his eyes narrowing. "Just make sure it doesn't interfere with your work." Mia's stomach twisted. She mumbled something about professionalism and fled, but the warning lingered. She hadn't told anyone at work she was questioning her sexuality, let alone that she was falling for Lena. The fear of being exposed, of losing her job or her carefully curated life, gnawed at her. She didn't tell Lena about the meeting, she didn't want to dim the light between them. Instead, she threw herself into their budding relationship. Lena invited Mia to her apartment one snowy evening, a cozy loft in Logan Square filled with mismatched furniture and art prints. They cooked pasta, bumping hips in the tiny kitchen, and when Lena pulled Mia into a dance to some old jazz record, Mia felt her heart crack open. Lena's hand settled on her waist and Mia leaned in, their lips meeting in a kiss that was soft, then hungry, then everything. "I'm falling for you," Lena whispered against Mia's lips, her voice raw. Mia's breath caught, and she kissed Lena harder, as if she could pour all her fears and hopes into that moment. They spent the night tangled in each other, the world outside forgotten, but reality crept back in. Mia's parents, devout and small-town proud, started asking why she hadn't been home lately. Over a tense phone call, her mother pressed, "Are you seeing someone? You sound different." Mia dodged the question, her palms sweating. She hadn't come out to them, hadn't even fully come out to herself. The weight of their expectations, of the life she'd been raised to want, pressed down on her. Lena, meanwhile, was fearless. She'd introduce Mia as "my girl" to her friends at a queer bar in Andersonville, her arms slung proudly around Mia's shoulders. Mia loved the way Lena claimed her, but she couldn't shake the panic that someone from her old life might see. One night at a crowded bar, she spotted a college friend across the room and froze, pulling away from Lena's touch. Lena's smile faltered, and though she didn't say anything, the hurt in her eyes cut Mia deep. "I'm sorry," Mia said later, as they walked home through the snow. I'm not ready for everyone to know." Lena stopped, her breath visible in the cold air. "I get it," she said, but her voice was tight. "I've been where you are, Mia. Scary as hell. But hiding who you are, it eats you alive." Mia wanted to argue, to say she wasn't hiding, but the words wouldn't come. She reached for Lena's hand and Lena squeezed back, but the silence between them felt heavier than before. The tension grew at work, too. Mark started assigning Lena to projects with impossible deadlines, nitpicking her designs while praising Mia's to drive a wedge between them. One day, Mia overheard him muttering to another manager about keeping things professional and not turning the office into a circus. Her blood ran cold. She wanted to confront him, to stand up for Lena, but fear kept her silent. That night, Lena showed up at Mia's apartment, her eyes stormy. "Mark's gunning for me," she said, pacing. "He's pissed because I'm not some cookie-cutter straight girl he can control. And you know what? I'm not gonna let him win." Mia's heart sank. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I might quit," Lena said, her voice fierce. "I've got offers from other firms. I don't need this bullshit. But I need to know you're with me, Mia. Not just when it's easy." Mia's throat tightened. She wanted to say she was all in, that she'd fight for Lena, for them. But the thought of coming out, of risking her job, her family, her entire world, it paralyzed her. "I need time," she whispered. Lena's face fell, and for the first time, Mia saw her look truly vulnerable. "Okay," Lena said, her voice barely audible. "But don't take too long." Mia's world felt like it was splitting at the seams. Lena's ultimatum hung over her like a storm cloud, and every day at work was a tightrope walk. She'd catch Lena's eye across the office, and the warmth in her smile was still there, but it was tinged with something new, caution, maybe, or hope that Mia would find her courage. Winter tightened its grip on Chicago, and with it came a suffocating pressure. Mia's parents announced they were visiting for Christmas, eager to see her settled life. The thought of them in her apartment, asking questions she couldn't answer, made Mia's chest ache. She hadn't told Lena about the visit, afraid it would widen the growing distance between them. At work, Mark's hostility toward Lena escalated. He rejected her latest campaign pitch in front of the team, his tone dripping with condescension. "Maybe stick to something less provocative," he said, his eyes flicking to Mia as if daring her to react. Lena's jaw tightened, but she held her tongue, her professionalism a shield. Mia, though, felt her own anger simmer. She wanted to defend Lena, to call Mark out, but her fear of rocking the boat kept her silent. After the meeting, Lena cornered Mia in the break room. "You saw that, right?" she said, her voice low and urgent. "He's trying to push me out, and you're just sitting there." "I'm sorry," Mia said, her voice cracking. "I don't know what to do. I'm scared, Lena." Lena's eyes softened, but her words were firm. "I know you are. But I can't keep fighting for us alone. I need you to show up, Mia. For real." That night, Mia sat alone in her apartment, staring at a photo of her and Lena from the game, Lena's arm around her, both of them laughing. She traced Lena's smile with her finger, her heart heavy. She loved Lena, more than she'd ever thought possible, but love wasn't enough if she couldn't be brave. The next day, Mia made a decision. She marched into Mark's office, her palms sweaty but her resolve firm. "I need to talk about Lena," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "You're treating her unfairly, and it needs to stop." Mark leaned back, his expression unreadable. "Careful, Mia," he said. "You're a good designer. Don't throw that away over personal matters." The warning was clear, but Mia held her ground. "She's the best designer here, and you know it. If you keep targeting her, I'll go to HR." Mark's eyes narrowed, but he didn't argue. Mia left his office shaking, adrenaline coursing through her. She'd done it, stood up for Lena, for them. But when she told Lena later, expecting relief or gratitude, Lena's reaction was muted. "Thanks," Lena said, her smile tight. "But this isn't just about work, Mia. It's about us. I need to know you're not ashamed of me." "I'm not," Mia said, her voice breaking. "I'm trying, Lena. I'm trying so hard." Lena nodded, but the distance between them lingered. That weekend, Mia's parents arrived, and the tension only grew. They were kind but probing, asking about her job, her friends, her future. At dinner, her mother mentioned a nice boy from their church, and Mia's stomach churned. She excused herself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on her face, trying to breathe through the panic. When she returned, her phone buzzed with a text from Lena. "I got an offer from a firm in New York. Thinking about taking it." Mia's heart stopped. New York. The thought of Lena leaving, of losing her, was unbearable. But she didn't know how to ask her to stay, not when she was still grappling with her own truth. The next week was torture. Lena was distant, buried in work, and Mia felt like she was losing her. One night, desperate to bridge the gap, Mia invited Lena to a gallery opening in the West Loop, hoping art and wine could mend things. Lena agreed, but her usual spark was dimmed. They wandered through the exhibit, surrounded by vibrant paintings, but the silence between them was deafening. Finally, Lena stopped in front of a canvas, a swirl of reds and golds, chaotic yet beautiful. "This is us," she said quietly. "Messy and tense, but worth it. If you think so too." Mia's eyes stung. She wanted to say yes, to promise everything, but the words caught in her throat. Lena's face fell and she walked away, leaving Mia alone with the painting and her regrets. Mia couldn't sleep. Lena's words at the gallery haunted her, and the possibility of New York loomed like a guillotine. She spent hours staring at her ceiling, replaying every moment, the game, the diner, the night in Lena's apartment. She'd never felt so alive as she did with Lena, but she was letting fear choke that life away. The next morning, she called in sick to work and drove to her parents' hotel. She found them in the lobby sipping coffee, and before she could lose her nerve, she blurted, "I need to tell you something. I'm in love with a woman." Her mother's cup froze halfway to her mouth. Her father's face hardened, and for a moment, the silence was suffocating. "Mia," her mother said finally, her voice tight, "this isn't what we raised you to be." The word stung, but Mia stood tall. "I'm still me," she said, "and I'm happier with her than I've ever been. I hope you can love me anyway." Her parents didn't embrace her, didn't cry, didn't yell. They just sat there, stunned, and Mia left with her heart pounding but lighter. She'd done it. She'd said the truth out loud, and the world hadn't ended. She went straight to Lena's apartment, her nerves electric. When Lena opened the door, her eyes were wary, but Mia didn't hesitate. "I told my parents," she said, her voice trembling, "about us. I'm done hiding, Lena. I love you and I want everyone to know." Lena's expression softened, and she pulled Mia inside, kissing her fiercely. "You're an idiot," Lena murmured, laughing through tears. "But you're my idiot." They spent the day together, talking, laughing, and rebuilding what fear had fractured. Lena hadn't accepted the New York offer yet, and Mia's confession gave her pause. "I want to stay," Lena said, her fingers tracing Mia's jaw. "But only if we're in this together." "We are," Mia promised, and for the first time she believed it. But work was still a battleground. Mark's behavior didn't change, and Lena's frustration grew. One day, he called them both into a meeting, his tone icy. "I've had complaints," he said, his eyes flicking between them, "about unprofessional conduct. I suggest you both focus on your jobs, or there'll be consequences." Mia's blood boiled. She glanced at Lena, whose fists were clenched, and made a split-second decision. "You're the one being unprofessional," Mia said, her voice steady. "You've been targeting Lena for months, and I'm not letting it slide anymore. We're reporting you to HR." Mark's face reddened, but before he could respond, Lena stood. "And I'm done," she said. "I quit. You don't get to dictate who I am or who I love." They walked out together, Lena's hand in Mia's, the office buzzing behind them. Outside in the cold Chicago air, Lena turned to Mia, her eyes blazing. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did," Mia replied. "I'm all in." Lena kissed her, right there on the sidewalk, and for once Mia didn't care who saw. But the victory was bittersweet. Lena was jobless, and Mia knew HR might not side with them. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Mia wasn't afraid of uncertainty, not with Lena by her side. They spent the next few days planning. Lena started reaching out to freelance clients, her confidence unshaken. Mia, inspired, began sketching again, pouring her emotions into her art. One night as they lay in bed, Lena traced the lines of Mia's latest drawing, a vibrant, swirling portrait of two women embracing. "This is us," Lena said, echoing her words from the gallery. "We're gonna be okay." Mia believed her. But as they drifted to sleep, a nagging worry lingered. Her parents hadn't called since her confession, and the silence was deafening. She wanted their love, but she knew she could live without it. What she couldn't live without was Lena. Spring arrived in Chicago, painting the city in soft greens and pinks. Mia and Lena had built a new life piece by piece. Lena landed a freelance gig with a progressive ad agency, her talent shining brighter without Mark's shadow. Mia too found her voice, pitching bold designs and even starting a side project, an art series about queer love, inspired by their journey. They moved in together, a small apartment in Lakeview filled with plants and laughter. Every morning, Mia woke to Lena's sleepy grin, and every night, they cooked together, bickering over spices and stealing kisses. It wasn't perfect, money was tight, and Mia's parents still hadn't reached out, but it was theirs. One evening as they walked along the lakefront, the setting sun casting a golden glow, Lena stopped and pulled Mia close. "I was gonna wait," she said, her voice nervous for once, "but I can't." She pulled a small box from her pocket, revealing a simple silver ring. "Marry me, Mia. Let's make this forever." Mia's eyes filled with tears. She thought of the game, of that first electric touch, of every fight and fear they'd overcome. "Yes," she whispered, and Lena slid the ring onto her finger, sealing it with a kiss that felt like a vow. The next day, Mia got a letter from her mother. It was short, hesitant, but it was a start. "We're trying to understand, Mia. We love you." It wasn't acceptance, not fully, but it was hope. Mia showed it to Lena, who squeezed her hand and said, "They'll come around. And if they don't, you've got me." At work, HR's investigation into Mark led to his demotion. A small victory for Mia and Lena. They celebrated with their friends at the queer bar in Andersonville, where Lena once again called Mia my girl, this time with a ring to prove it. Mia no longer flinched at the words, she wore them proudly. As they danced under the bar's dim lights, Mia realized something profound. Love wasn't just the thrill of Lena's hand sliding lower in a crowded stadium. It was the courage to stand up, to speak out, to choose each other every day. It was messy, painful, beautiful, and worth every second. Their story wasn't over. There would be more fights, more fears, more moments of doubt. But as Mia looked at Lena, her partner, her home, she knew they'd face it all together. The game had been the start, but this life, this love was the victory.